The glass and steel towers of Neo-Seattle reached toward the cloudy sky, their surfaces glowing with digital advertisements. The year was 2157, and the Global Robotics Championship had drawn the best minds from around the world. Crowds moved. Through the city streets, most people visibly enhanced with glowing blue neural interfaces at their temples, metallic limb upgrades, or the subtle shimmer of subdermal tech beneath their skin. Olivia Reyes felt out of place as she pushed her hover cart containing a large metal case toward the registration center. She wore simple jeans and a worn jacket with no visible tech on her body. No implants shimmered beneath her skin. No augmented reality glasses covered her eyes. She was completely natural, something that had become increasingly rare. Next, called the registration officer, a woman with bright silver circuitry running along her neck. Her eyes widened when she scanned Olivia's identification. There must be a mistake. Your file says you have no registered enhancements. That's correct, Olivia said, pushing back a strand of brown hair. I don't have any. The officer looked up, genuine confusion on her face. Not even basic neural cognitive boosters, memory expansion? Nothing, Olivia replied. She had grown used to these reactions. I was raised in River Valley. My parents believed in natural living. The officer's, expression shifted to something between pity and fascination. River Valley was one of the few remaining communities that rejected enhancements. Most people viewed them as backward cults, clinging to an outdated way of life. Well, that's different, the officer finally said, handing back Olivia's ID. Your designated workshop is on Level 3, Section B12. The first challenge briefing is at 0800 tomorrow. Olivia nodded and pushed her cart toward the elevators. As she waited, a group of competitors stepped beside her. They wore matching jumpsuits with corporate logos and had the confident posture of people used to winning. Hey, look, actual buttons. On her jacket, one of them said, a tall man with visible circuit patterns glowing beneath his skin. Didn't know people still use those. His friends laughed, their eyes flashing with tech as they communicated silently through their neural networks, sharing jokes Olivia couldn't hear. William Carter, the man said, extending a hand that had subtle mechanical enhancements visible at the joints. 4-time North American champion. And you are? Olivia Reyes, she replied, shaking his hand firmly. What division are you in? Junior. League? Support staff? William asked, looking at her plain appearance. Open competition. Same as you, Olivia said, keeping her voice level despite the sting of his assumption. William's smile faltered. His eyes flickered with blue light as he presumably searched for information about her. You're joking. Wait, you're the natural from the application pool? How did you even qualify? The elevator arrived, and Olivia pushed her cart inside. My robot passed the same entry requirements as yours. William and his friends followed her in. They kept a slight distance as if being unenhanced might be contagious. What corporation are you with? Asked a woman with metallic filaments woven into her braided hair. None, Olivia replied. Independent entry. This triggered more silent communication among the group, their eyes flickering as they messaged each other. William didn't bother hiding his skepticism. An unenhanced independent? The qualification tests require precision control and advanced computational navigation. How did you manage without at least basic neural interface? Olivia kept her eyes forward. I built a good robot. The elevator stopped at level 3 and Olivia pushed her cart out, leaving the enhanced competitors exchanging doubtful looks. She found her assigned workshop, a small space compared to the corporate areas, but it had the tools she needed. She unlocked her metal case and carefully removed her creation. Hope stood about 4 feet tall, with a rounded white body and flexible limbs. It didn't have the aggressive angles or military-grade materials of the corporate entries she had glimpsed. Instead, it looked almost friendly. We made it this far, she said to the robot as she began checking its systems. Nobody thinks we belong here. A knock at her workshop door interrupted her work. A woman in her 60s with elegant gray hair and subtle golden circuitry at her temples stood in the doorway. Ms. Reyes? I'm Dr. Patricia Monroe, head judge and director of the championship. Olivia quickly stood up. Dr. Monroe, it's an honor. May I come in? I'd like to see your entry. Of course, Olivia said, stepping aside. Dr. Monroe walked slowly around Hope, studying it with expert eyes. Fascinating. Design choices, no neural link receiver? No. Hope operates either by direct controller or through its own decision-making systems, Olivia explained. Hope, humanitarian operation and precision engineering. Dr. Monroe smiled. I reviewed your application personally, Ms. Reyes. Your qualification test results were remarkable, especially considering your unique situation. Olivia felt herself tense. Was she about to be disqualified? We've never had an unmodified human in the open competition, Dr. Monroe continued. Many on the committee wanted to reject your application outright. They couldn't believe someone without enhancements could compete at this level. But you approved it, Olivia said. I did. I'm curious to see what different perspectives can bring. Dr. Monroe's expression became more serious. But I should warn you, you've made some people uncomfortable simply by being here. The corporate sponsors especially don't appreciate the narrative of an unenhanced outsider challenging their enhanced champions. I'm not here to make a point, Olivia said. I just want to compete. Your presence makes a point whether you intend it or not. Dr. Monroe moved toward the door. The first challenge tomorrow is a disaster zone navigation test. Good luck, Ms. Reyes. You're going to need it. After Dr. Monroe left, Olivia returned to her preparations. She attached her diagnostic tablet to Hope and reviewed its programming one more time. Unlike her competitors who could interface directly with their machines, sharing thoughts at the speed of electricity, Olivia relied on physical tools and displays. She worked late into the night, making small adjustments and running simulations. When most other competitors had retired to their luxury accommodations, Olivia unrolled a sleeping bag in the corner of her workshop. She couldn't afford a hotel, and she wanted to be near Hope anyway. As she drifted toward sleep, she could hear faint laughter from down the hall, where some enhanced competitors were still socializing. She felt the weight of isolation, knowing that to them she was less than whole, a curiosity at best, a joke at worst. Tomorrow we show them what we can do, she whispered to her robot in the darkness. Outside her window, the glow of Neo-Seattle's enhanced population lit up the night, a constant reminder of how the world had left people like her behind. But tomorrow perhaps she would remind them of what they had forgotten. The morning of the first challenge arrived with the sound of rain against the workshop windows. Olivia woke up from her sleeping bag on the floor, her back stiff, but her mind clear. She had dreamed of River Valley, of the simple wooden houses and the smell of real trees. It felt far away now. She quickly washed her face in the small sink and changed her clothes. There was no time for breakfast. The Disaster Zone challenge would begin in 1 hour, and she needed every minute to prepare. Hope. Systems check, she said as she activated her robot. Hope's eyes lit up with a soft blue glow. Unlike the neural-linked robots that remained dormant until their enhanced humans connected to them, Hope had its own startup sequence. Olivia attached her diagnostic tablet and reviewed the readouts. Everything looked normal. She disconnected the tablet and picked up her controller, a handheld device with 2 joysticks and a small screen. To the enhanced competitors, it would look primitive, like something from a museum. A voice came over the workshop speakers. All competitors report to Arena 1 for the Disaster Zone Challenge. Olivia took a deep breath and guided Hope toward the door. The robot walked beside her, its movements smooth and balanced. They joined the flow of competitors heading toward the arena, drawing curious and mocking glances. Most competitors weren't even physically touching their robots, controlling them remotely through neural links while walking several steps ahead. The arena was enormous, a massive space transformed into what looked like a collapsed city. Broken concrete walls, twisted metal beams, fires burning in controlled areas, and artificial smoke created a chaotic environment. Screens around the arena displayed the course from different camera angles. Dr. Monroe stood on a platform above the competitors. Welcome to the Disaster Zone Challenge. Your robots must navigate through the zone, Locate 5 survivors represented by thermal dummies and bring them to the safe extraction point. The course is dynamic. Conditions will change as you progress. You have 45 minutes. Good luck. The competitors moved to their starting positions along the edge of the arena. Olivia noticed William Carter nearby, his eyes already glowing, with his neural interface as he connected with his military-grade drone. The sleek black machine hovered a few inches off the ground, its surface covered with sensors. "Is that a physical controller?" William asked, noticing the device in Olivia's hands. "How quaint, like trying to perform surgery with stone tools." Olivia ignored him and focused on her robot. "Ready, Hope?" The robot nodded, a human-like gesture she had programmed to make communication more intuitive. A loud horn sounded, and the challenge began. The enhanced competitors immediately surged forward, their robots moving with incredible speed and precision. William's drone shot ahead of the pack, weaving between obstacles effortlessly. Olivia took a different approach. Rather than rushing in, she guided Hope to a higher vantage point on a pile of rubble. From there, the robot scanned the arena, building a map of the environment while identifying potential routes. "Take path 3, she said into the controller's microphone. Hope processed the command and began moving through the disaster zone with careful, deliberate steps. The arena screens showed the progress of each competitor. William's drone had already reached the first survivor, using its advanced sensors to detect the thermal signature through walls. Other enhanced competitors were close behind. Olivia watched as Hope encountered the first major obstacle, a narrow passage blocked by fallen debris. Instead of trying to clear it, which would take too much time, Hope analyzed the structure and identified a small gap near the bottom. The robot reconfigured its limbs into a more compact shape and crawled through. On the other side, Hope detected its first survivor, buried under light rubble. The robot carefully cleared the debris and gently lifted the thermal dummy. "Extraction. Point is 200 meters north," Olivia said into her controller. "But wait, scan the area first." This extra step wasn't something the enhanced competitors bothered with. Their real-time neural processing allowed them to react to dangers as they appeared. Olivia couldn't do that, so she compensated with caution and planning. Hope's scan revealed an unstable ceiling section along the direct route. When the robot took an alternate path, Olivia noticed on the arena screens that William's drone was heading straight for the danger zone. Seconds later, the ceiling collapsed. William's drone narrowly escaped, but 2 other robots were caught in the debris. Their enhanced human operators winced in pain as feedback from their damaged machines surged through their neural links. Olivia felt a moment of relief that she couldn't experience such feedback. When Hope encountered problems, she felt concern, but no physical pain. The challenge grew more difficult as the arena controllers added new obstacles. Fires spread to block previously clear paths. Water began to flood lower sections. Electromagnetic pulses periodically disrupted sensors and communications. These pulses caused the most trouble for the enhanced competitors. Each time one hit, their neural links flickered, causing them to lose control of their robots for precious seconds. Some even removed their interface glasses, rubbing their temples in pain. Olivia faced a different problem. During one strong pulse, her controller connection to Hope cut out completely. "No!" she gasped, frantically trying to re-establish the link. But instead of freezing in place like many other robots did when they lost connection to their operators, Hope continued working. The robot had been programmed to function autonomously if communication failed. It continued toward the extraction point with the survivor, making its own decisions based on its sensors and Olivia's core programming. When the controller link returned 30 seconds later, Hope had already safely delivered the first survivor and was scanning for the next one. William Carter noticed this from his control station. "How are you still operating during the pulses?" he demanded, his voice strained from the neural feedback. "Hope doesn't need constant input," Olivia replied, keeping her eyes on her robot's progress. "It can think for itself when needed." By the 30-minute mark, the leaderboard showed William in first place with 3 survivors rescued. Olivia was tied for third with 2 survivors. The arena had become increasingly hazardous with more unstable structures and spreading fires. As William's drone raced to find the 4th survivor, it encountered a flooded section with damaged electrical components, creating dangerous currents in the water. The drone hovered above, its sensors searching for a safe path. Meanwhile, Hope approached the same area from a different angle. Olivia studied the situation through her controller's small screen. "The water's electrified," she said. "Can you find another route?" Hope scanned the area and detected a narrow maintenance tunnel that bypassed the water. The robot couldn't fit through it in its normal configuration, but it could adapt. Hope detached its outer shell components and transformed into a snake-like configuration that could navigate the tight space. This flexibility wasn't something the more specialized robots could match. William's military drone was built for speed and strength, not reconfiguration. As the challenge entered its final 10 minutes, the competition grew fiercer. William had rescued 4 survivors, with Olivia and another competitor tied at 3 each. Only 2 survivors remained in the disaster zone. "Find the nearest heat signature," Olivia commanded. Hope scanned and detected a faint thermal reading behind a wall of debris. Rather than trying to clear the heavy rubble, Hope analyzed the structure and identified a weak point. With precise application of force, it created an opening just large enough to reach through and carefully extract the survivor. Now tied with William at 4 rescues each, the race for the final survivor would determine the leader after the first challenge. The last thermal dummy was in the most dangerous section of the arena, a structurally unstable building with active fires. William's drone charged directly toward it, while Hope took a more careful approach, continuously scanning for dangers. With less than 2 minutes remaining, both robots converged on the final survivor from different directions. William's drone reached it first, but as it lifted the dummy, a support beam gave way. The drone's lightning reflexes enabled it to dodge, but it dropped the survivor in the process. Hope arrived seconds later, secured the survivor, and began navigating toward the extraction point as pieces of the building collapsed around it. The horn sounded, ending the challenge just as Hope delivered the final survivor. The arena screens displayed the final standings. William Carter in first place with 4 survivors, Olivia Reyes in second with 5 survivors, but penalties for time placed her just behind William. Dr. Monroe announced the results to the stunned audience. "This concludes our first challenge, an impressive showing, especially from our top competitors." William removed his neural interface, his expression mixing frustration and curiosity as he looked toward Olivia and her simple controller. For the first time, he nodded to her with something resembling respect. Olivia smiled as she patted Hope's shell. They hadn't won yet, but they had proven they belonged. "Second place," she whispered to her robot. "Not bad for stone tools." Back in her workshop, Olivia sat on the floor with Hope, examining the robot for damage. The disaster zone challenge had been rough, and several components showed signs of strain. She had 12 hours until the next challenge, enough time for repairs but not much for sleep. As she worked, the door to her workshop slid open. A young competitor stood there, no more than 20 years old, with standard neural enhancements glowing softly at her temples. "Can I help you?" Olivia asked, not pausing in her work. "I'm Alice Ward," the young woman said. "I just wanted to see how you did it." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "Did what?" "Kept functioning during the electromagnetic pulses. My robot completely froze when my neural link cut out." Alice stepped inside, looking at Hope with genuine curiosity rather than the mockery Olivia had grown used to. "It's pretty simple," Olivia said, warming slightly. "Hope has layered decision-making systems. When it loses connection to me, it switches to autonomous mode." Alice frowned. "But how do you trust it to make the right decisions without your guidance?" Olivia pulled out a small tool and adjusted a joint in Hope's left arm. "I don't need moment-by-moment control. I programmed Hope with core principles and goals, and it figures out the specifics based on what it encounters." "That's so different from how we're taught," Alice said, sitting down on a nearby stool. "The standard approach is complete neural integration. We become the machine. Control every movement directly, which works great until the connection breaks, Olivia pointed out. Alice nodded slowly. I lost valuable time today because of that. When the pulses hit, I couldn't think straight and my robot just stood there. Their conversation was interrupted by the workshop door sliding open again. This time, William Carter walked in, followed by two of his corporate teammates. Unlike Alice, they didn't look curious, they looked angry. Second place, William said, his voice cold. Quite the surprise. The judges are impressed by the natural competitor. Olivia set down her tools and stood up. Is there a problem? There must be some trick. No unenhanced human could program a robot that advanced. William paced around Hope, studying it closely. What are you hiding? Some kind of illegal enhancement you haven't registered? Nothing, Olivia said firmly. Just hard work and a different approach. One of William's teammates, a woman with metallic implants visible along her jawline, pointed at Hope. That level of autonomous function requires advanced neural mapping. Where did you get the algorithms? I wrote them, Olivia said. Over 7 years. William laughed sharply. Impossible. Without cognitive enhancements, the computational modeling alone would take decades. Alice, who had been sitting quietly, spoke up. Maybe that's the point. She built her robot differently because she had to think differently. William turned to Alice with a dismissive gesture. Stay out of this, Junior League. You don't understand. What's at stake here? I understand fair competition, Alice said, standing up straighter despite her obvious nervousness. William returned his attention to Olivia. The assembly challenge is tomorrow. Let's see how your manual control handles precision work against neural speed. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and check your robot carefully. Accidents happen in competitions like this. After they left, Alice looked troubled. That sounded like a threat. It was, Olivia agreed, kneeling back down to continue her work on Hope. Would you hand me that diagnostic tablet? Alice passed her the tablet. Aren't you worried? Very, but I can't prove anything and complaining would just make me look weak. Olivia connected the tablet to Hope and ran a deep system scan. Besides, they're right about one thing. The assembly challenge will be much harder for me. Why? Alice asked. Neural interfaces allow enhanced humans to make micro-adjustments at thought speed. My manual controller can't match that precision. Olivia's scan revealed no obvious tampering, but she decided to check the hardware components individually. Anyway, I need a different strategy. Alice stayed for another hour, asking questions and occasionally helping with simple tasks. Olivia found herself enjoying the company. It had been a long time since anyone had shown genuine interest in her work without judgment. After Alice left, Olivia worked late into the night making modifications to Hope's assembly tools. She couldn't match the neural-enhanced speed of the other competitors, so she focused on creating smarter tools that could compensate for minor mistakes in real time. When she finally crawled into her sleeping bag around 3 a.m., her mind was still racing with calculations and contingency plans. She set her alarm for 6 a.m. The assembly challenge would begin at 9. Morning came too quickly. Olivia woke feeling groggy but pushed through, washing her face with cold water and drinking a bitter instant coffee she had packed in her bag. As she prepared Hope for the day's challenge, a message appeared on her workshop screen. All competitors report to Arena 2 for the Precision Assembly Challenge briefing. Arena 2 was smaller than the disaster zone but more complex. Instead of simulated rubble, it contained pristine workstations arranged in a circle. Each station had identical components laid out in precise patterns. At the center of the arena stood a holographic display showing a complex device, what they would be building. Dr. Monroe addressed the competitors. Today's challenge tests precision, speed, and adaptability. Each robot must assemble a functioning quantum stabilizer using the provided components. The assembled device must pass 3 test phases: structural integrity, power regulation, and field stabilization. You have 90 minutes. Begin when the signal sounds. Olivia studied the holographic design carefully. It was incredibly complex. Dozens of microscopic connections and precisely calibrated parts. The enhanced competitors were already processing the design through their neural interfaces, their eyes glowing as they downloaded the specifications directly to their brains. Olivia had to rely on her memory and Hope's visual recognition systems. She quickly took photos of the design with her controller and transferred them to Hope's memory banks. The starting signal sounded. Immediately, the enhanced competitors connected to their robots, their movements perfectly synchronized as human, and machine functioned as one. Their robots' hands moved with incredible speed and precision, assembling the smallest components first. Olivia took a different approach. Rather than trying to match their speed, she focused on accuracy and planning. Hope, begin with structural frame assembly. Use verification protocol after each component. Hope's movements were slower but methodical. After each piece was placed, the robot scanned the connection to ensure it met specifications before moving on. This verification step slowed the process, but reduced the chance of errors that would require disassembly later. 30 minutes into the challenge, most competitors had completed about half of their devices. William was in the lead, his military drones manipulators moving so quickly they were almost a blur. Olivia and Hope had completed only about a third of their device, falling behind. Then something unexpected happened. As the competitors began, working with the more delicate quantum components, the arena controllers introduced a variable. Slight vibrations in the workstations, simulating real-world conditions where perfect stability couldn't be guaranteed. Several of the enhanced competitors struggled with this change. Their neural interfaces were calibrated for perfect conditions, and the vibrations threw off their precision. William's drone dropped a critical component, cracking it. He shouted in frustration, feeling the failure as if it were his own hands that had dropped the piece. Olivia had anticipated something like this. Hope's assembly tools included tiny shock absorbers and adaptive grips that could adjust to changing conditions. The robot continued working steadily despite the vibrations. "Keep going," Olivia encouraged, watching Hope's careful progress. "Just like we practiced." By the 1-hour mark, William had recovered from his setback and regained the lead, but Olivia had moved up to 4th place. The gap was closing as some competitors struggled with the increasingly challenging conditions. Dr. Monroe watched with particular interest as Hope handled a tricky phase transition coil, adapting its grip strength when the component unexpectedly flexed more than the specifications indicated. She programmed it to handle real-world variables, Dr. Monroe commented to another judge, not just theoretical perfection. As the challenge entered its final 15 minutes, tension in the arena grew. William's drone was working on the final testing phase of his device. Olivia and Hope had nearly completed assembly and were preparing for testing. The quantum stabilizers had to function perfectly. Any flaw in assembly would cause them to fail spectacularly during the test phases. When William initiated his first test, the device hummed to life, passing the structural integrity check. But during the power regulation test, something went wrong. The device began to overheat, forcing his drone to quickly shut it down and make adjustments. Olivia carefully guided Hope through the final connections. "Begin test sequence," she said into her controller. Hope activated the quantum stabilizer. It passed the structural test easily. The power regulation test caused a moment of tension as one reading spiked briefly, but Hope immediately adjusted a calibration knob, bringing it back within parameters. The field stabilization test began, the most difficult part. Olivia woke with a start. Something was wrong. The lights in her workshop were on, but she had turned them off before sleeping. She sat up quickly and saw that the door to her workshop was slightly open. "Hope?" she called out, fear rising in her chest. The robot stood in its charging station, appearing untouched. Olivia scrambled to her feet and rushed to examine it. Everything looked normal on the outside, but that meant nothing. She grabbed her diagnostic tablet and plugged it in. As the system scan began running, she checked the room. Nothing seemed missing. Her tools were all in place. The only sign that someone had been there was the partly open door and the lights. The scan completed with a soft beep. Olivia's eyes widened as she read the results. "No," she whispered. Someone had accessed Hope's core programming. A small bit of code had been added to the learning algorithms, a virus designed to corrupt Hope's decision-making during high-stress operations. If she hadn't checked, the virus would have activated during the final challenge, causing Hope to make increasingly poor decisions until it failed completely. The sabotage was clever, designed to look like a glitch rather than intentional tampering. Olivia's hands shook with anger as she carefully removed the malicious code. This would take hours to fix properly. She glanced at the clock, 3:30 a.m. The final challenge would begin at 10 a.m. She had to work fast. "I know who did this," she muttered as she worked, thinking of William's thinly veiled threat. But she had no proof, and complaining to the judges would just make her look desperate. For the next 4 hours, Olivia meticulously repaired Hope's programming and added new security measures. She didn't just remove the virus, she strengthened the entire system against similar attacks. By the time she finished, sunlight was streaming through the windows. Olivia splashed water on her face and changed her clothes. She hadn't slept much, but adrenaline kept her alert. As she was preparing to leave for the arena, Alice appeared at her door. "Olivia, I came to wish you luck," Alice said brightly, then frowned when she saw Olivia's face. "You look terrible. What happened?" "Someone sabotaged Hope last night," Olivia said, too tired to hide it. "I spent all night fixing it." Alice's eyes widened. "Was it William?" "Probably, but I can't prove it." Olivia picked up her controller. "Doesn't matter now. I fixed the damage and made improvements. It won't happen again." "Are you going to tell the judges?" Olivia shook her head. "No point. I'd rather beat him fair and square." She managed a tired smile. "But thanks for caring." Together they walked to Arena 3, where the final challenge would take place. This arena was the largest, yet a combination of the previous challenges with new elements added. It featured obstacles, assembly stations, and a central area where robots would directly compete against each other. The remaining competitors, now down to 12 from the original 30, gathered around Dr. Monroe for the briefing. "The integration challenge tests everything," Dr. Monroe explained. "Your robots must navigate the obstacle course, gather components from 5 different stations, assemble a functioning device, and then use that device to claim the central platform. Multiple robots will be in the arena simultaneously, and direct interference with other robots is permitted within safety guidelines." William stood nearby, looking confident. When he noticed Olivia watching him, he smiled thinly. Olivia kept her face neutral, giving no sign that she knew about the sabotage attempt. "First place after today's challenge will receive 50 bonus points," Dr. Monroe continued. "Given the current standings, this means several competitors still have a chance for overall victory. Begin preparations. The challenge starts in 30 minutes." As the competitors dispersed to ready their robots, Dr. Monroe approached Olivia. "Ms. Reyes, I'm impressed by your performance so far. How are you feeling about today's challenge?" "Ready," Olivia said simply. Dr. Monroe studied her face. "You look tired. Everything all right with your robot?" Olivia hesitated, then decided, "To be honest, someone tried to sabotage Hope last night. I caught it in time." Dr. Monroe's expression darkened. "Do you have evidence of who did it?" "No, just suspicions." "I see." Dr. Monroe looked troubled. "Would you like to file a formal complaint? We can investigate." Olivia shook her head. "I'd rather win on merit than get someone disqualified on suspicion." "Very well, but I'll make sure security is watching more closely now." Dr. Monroe moved away to speak with the security team. As the start time approached, Olivia ran final checks on Hope. The robot was functioning perfectly despite the long night of repairs. She had made one major change, a completely isolated backup system that could take over if the main system encountered any problems. The 12 finalists took their positions around the arena. The challenge would be broadcast globally, with millions watching online. Corporate sponsors had representatives in the audience, already looking to recruit the top performers. The starting signal sounded, and the robots entered the arena. Williams' military drone shot forward immediately, using its hover capabilities to bypass many of the ground obstacles. Other robots followed various strategies, some focusing on speed, others on careful navigation. Olivia guided Hope along a middle path. "Focus on efficiency, not speed," she said into her controller. Hope moved with purpose, avoiding the riskiest obstacles while maintaining a steady pace. The first component station required robots to solve a puzzle to unlock the parts. William's drone arrived first, its enhanced neural connection allowing him to solve the puzzle almost instantly. Hope reached the station third and used its visual analysis to identify the pattern quickly. While not as fast as neural processing, it was faster than several enhanced competitors who overthought the problem. By the time they reached the third component station, clear competition patterns had emerged. William led the pack with 2 corporate robots close behind. Olivia and Hope had settled into 4th place, maintaining a steady pace. 4 robots had already been eliminated due to damage from obstacles or poor navigation. The real challenge began at the assembly phase. Each robot had gathered different components based on which stations they had successfully navigated. Now, they needed to adapt their assembly plans to work with what they had. William's drone had all the optimal components and began assembly quickly. Hope was missing one ideal component, but had a substitute that could work with modifications. Olivia guided the robot through the necessary adjustments to the assembly plan. "Recalibrate the power flow to accommodate the alternate conductor," she instructed. Hope made the changes, its adaptive programming allowing for flexibility that some of the more rigid robot systems lacked. The assembly phase separated the truly skilled competitors from the rest. By the time it ended, only 6 robots had successfully created functioning devices, portable energy shields designed to claim and hold the central platform. The final phase began with these 6 robots converging on the center of the arena. William's drone reached it first, activating its shield to claim the platform. The rules were simple: hold the platform for 3 consecutive minutes or be the last robot standing. As Hope approached the platform, one of the corporate robots attempted to block its path. Olivia guided Hope in a quick sidestep that showed surprising agility for its size. Hope then used its shield to push past the other robot and reach the edge of the platform. William's drone noticed the approach and turned its attention to Hope. "Trying to play with the big boys?" William's voice came through the arena speakers. "Let's see how manual control handles this." His drone moved with incredible speed, attempting to force Hope off the platform before it could establish position. Olivia couldn't match that neural speed reaction time with her controller. Instead, she released manual control and activated Hope's autonomous combat protocol, a system she had refined during the long night. "Defensive position, adaptive response," she commanded before stepping back. Hope's movements changed instantly. Rather than trying to predict and counter each of William's lightning-fast attacks, the robot focused on reading patterns and responding with efficient movements that conserved energy and maintained position. William's aggression caused his drone to consume power rapidly. Its shield began to flicker after 60 seconds of continuous attack. Hope, meanwhile, maintained a solid defense while looking for opportunities to counter. The audience watched in fascination as the enhanced human with military-grade technology found himself locked in an unexpectedly even battle with the unenhanced human's robot. What Hope lacked in raw speed, it made up for in efficiency and adaptability. 2 minutes into the central platform battle, only 3 robots remained: William's drone, Hope, and one corporate robot that was quickly losing power. The corporate robot fell next, its shield failing under a quick attack from William's drone. Now it was just William against Olivia, enhanced against unenhanced, direct neural control against autonomous programming with manual oversight. With 30 seconds remaining, William's drone made a critical error. In its aggressive pursuit of Hope, it overextended and briefly moved outside its own shield perimeter. Hope immediately identified the weakness and executed a precise counter-move, pushing the drone completely off the platform. William frantically tried to recover, his neural commands sending the drone charging back toward the platform. But Hope had already. Olivia slept deeply that night, exhausted from the sleepless night before and the intensity of the final challenge. When she woke, sunlight was already streaming through the workshop windows. She checked the time, 8:30 a.m. The awards ceremony would begin at 10 a.m. She sat up and looked at Hope. The robot stood in its charging station, systems in low-power mode. Olivia felt a rush of pride mixed with uncertainty. They had won the integration challenge, but would it be enough to win the overall competition? William had performed consistently well in all 3 challenges. After washing up and changing her clothes, Olivia ran a quick diagnostic check on Hope. Everything was functioning perfectly. She disconnected the diagnostic tablet and patted the robot's shell. "Whatever happens today," she said quietly, "we showed them what we can do." A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Alice stood there looking excited. "Ready for the big moment?" Alice asked. "Everyone's talking about you, the unenhanced competitor who might actually win." Olivia smiled. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. William still has a strong chance." "Maybe," Alice said, "but you've already made history. Come on, I saved you some breakfast." They walked to the competitors' lounge where food had been laid out. Olivia hadn't realized how hungry she was until she saw the spread. She filled a plate with eggs, fruit, and toast, then sat down with Alice. As they ate, other competitors stopped by their table. Some offered congratulations, while others asked questions about Hope's design. The atmosphere had changed. There was curiosity now instead of mockery. At 9:45 a.m., an announcement came over the speakers. "All finalists, please report to the main stage for the awards ceremony." The main stage was set up in the largest arena, with seating for thousands of spectators. Cameras hovered overhead, broadcasting the event globally. The 12 finalists lined up on stage with their robots beside them. Olivia stood near the middle with Hope, while William and his drone were positioned at the far end. Dr. Monroe took the center of the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the conclusion of this year's Global Robotics Championship. Over the past 3 days, we've witnessed innovation, determination, and excellence from all our competitors." The audience applauded politely. "Before we announce the overall results, I want to acknowledge something special about this year's competition. For the first time in the championship's history, we welcomed a competitor with no technological enhancements." The cameras focused on Olivia, displaying her image on the giant screens around the arena. She tried to keep her expression neutral, despite her discomfort at being the center of attention. Many questioned whether someone without neural interfaces or cognitive enhancements could compete at this level. Olivia Reyes has answered that question decisively. Dr. Monroe smiled at Olivia. "Now let's proceed with the awards." The bronze medal went to a corporate team from Japan. They stepped forward, bowed to the audience, and accepted their trophy. The silver medal, with a total of 267 points. Dr. Monroe paused for effect. "Goes to William Carter and his mark. Sat the combat assistance drone." A murmur ran through the audience. If William had taken second place, that meant. "And the gold medal, with a total of 271 points, goes to Olivia Reyes and Hope." The arena erupted in applause. Olivia stood frozen, in shock. They had won. Actually won. By just 4 points, Dr. Monroe motioned for her to step forward. Olivia walked to the center of the stage with Hope following beside her. Dr. Monroe handed her a gleaming trophy and shook her hand. "Congratulations, Ms. Reyes. Would you like to say a few words?" Olivia hadn't prepared a speech. She hadn't truly believed she could win. She looked out at the sea of faces, many with the glow of enhancements visible. "Thank you," she began, finding her voice. "When I entered this competition, many people thought I didn't belong. They might have been right, but for the wrong reasons. I don't see technology as the enemy. I use technology. I build robots." She gestured to Hope. "But I believe there's value in different approaches. When you can't rely on neural speed or direct interface, you have to build systems that think for themselves, that can continue functioning when you're not directly controlling every move." She paused, gathering her thoughts. Hope won because it was designed to be resilient and adaptive, not just fast or strong. There's a lesson there about the relationship between humans and machines. Sometimes the best approach isn't to make the machine an extension of ourselves, but to create something that complements our limitations, a true partner rather than just a tool. The audience was silent, absorbing her words. Then Dr. Monroe began to applaud, followed quickly by the rest of the crowd. Even some of the corporate representatives were nodding thoughtfully. As Olivia stepped back into line, William Carter approached her. His face was tense, but he extended his hand. "Congratulations," he said stiffly. "You earned it." Olivia shook his hand. "Thank you. I still think enhancements are the future," he added, unable to help himself. "They might be part of it," Olivia conceded, "but not the only part." After the ceremony, Olivia was surrounded by reporters and corporate representatives. One woman in an expensive suit handed her a business card. "Andrea Boyd, Global Robotics Institute. We'd like to offer you a position in our research division. Your approach to autonomous systems could have applications beyond competitions." Olivia looked at the card. The Global Robotics Institute was the most prestigious research organization in the field. "I'm interested," she said, "but I have conditions. My work needs to be accessible to everyone, enhanced or not." Andrea nodded. "We were hoping you'd say that. The world is changing, Ms. Reyes. Your victory has sparked important conversations about technology and human potential." As the crowd gradually dispersed, Alice found her way to Olivia. "What happens now?" she asked. "Are you going back to River Valley?" Olivia shook her head. "No. I love my community, but it's too isolated. There's important work to be done out here." She looked at Hope. "We proved that different approaches can succeed. Now I want to build bridges between the enhanced and unenhanced worlds." Dr. Monroe joined them, smiling warmly. "A worthy goal. The gap has been growing for years. We need people who can see value in both perspectives." Later that evening, after the interviews and celebrations had ended, Olivia sat alone in her workshop looking at her trophy. She had already received dozens of job offers and research proposals. Her life would never be the same. She touched Hope's shell gently. "We did more than win a competition," she said to the robot. "We changed how people think." As she packed her tools and prepared to leave Neo-Seattle, Olivia felt hopeful for the first time in years. The world of technological enhancement had seemed to be leaving people like her behind, but she had shown that human ingenuity still mattered, that different paths could lead to success. The next morning, as her transport lifted off, Olivia looked down at the gleaming city below. She wasn't just returning home a champion, she was coming back with a purpose. The divide between enhanced and unenhanced humans needed to be bridged, and she was now in a unique position to help build that bridge. Her controller beeped with a message from the Global Robotics Institute. "Workshop ready for you next month. Team eager to learn your methods." Olivia smiled. This was just the beginning. The victory hadn't been about proving that unenhanced was better than enhanced. It had been about showing that diversity of approach made everyone stronger. In a world racing toward technological integration, she had reminded people of the value of human creativity and resilience. As the transport accelerated toward River Valley, Olivia began sketching designs for her next project. Hope had been just the first step. The future would need systems that could serve everyone, enhanced or not, and she was ready to build them.